This year, people in Boston will vote for mayor and city council with a preliminary election on Tuesday, September 26th. There will be 3 open seats on the council, one of them being vacated by Tito Jackson, who currently represents District 7. The district includes most of Roxbury and parts of Dorchester, the South End, and the Fenway. Among those hoping to be the new councilor in District 7 is our guest tonight, Joao DePina. Thank you very much for being with us, Joao.
How you doing? Thank you for having me here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Joao, talk about your activities so far, because you run a business, you've been active in the community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I own my own small business, as you talk about. I own a small floral design business that I currently run out of home because of the cost of a storefront is really expensive in Boston, and opportunities to get a storefront is kind of expensive. So I currently run it out at home. And I'm slowly building the business. I've had it for about 2 years, on the papers, on the books, as we would say. But I've been doing the work for about 6 years now. I was doing that in between my college classes to get by, and I kind of picked it up and realized that financially it was a great place to go.
You've also had some activity in violence prevention in the community, too.
Yes, so I spent a lot of my years, since 2002, Chris, I've been out in the streets, boots on the ground against gun violence and violence in our community, because a kid by the name of Malik Andrade Percival, which the city of Boston has really kind of pushed him to the back and kind of forget to speak about him nowadays.
He was shot when he was how, like 2 or 3 years old?
He was 3 years old. He was shot in his own home. As an intruder came in to supposedly, possibly rob the father, or whatever interaction they had with the father, they shot through the door, and the gentleman shot through the door and shot the little kid and killed him. And I was outraged, Chris, and I turned around and I went door to door, business to business, and I raised money in a can. And this was the first time I've ever done that, but I was so hurt and outraged and felt like I needed to do something for this family, which happened to be a friend of mine. And her name is Mika Andrade. And I went door to door, collected money to make T-shirts for this family. And even bumped into a cousin that thought I was just using the family, the kid story to collect money. And, come to find out, he was a family member, and we ended up becoming real cool because I did something positive for his family. And ever since then, Chris, I joined Izara Mendez, and we would do the
She lost 2 sons to violence, too, yeah.
Yeah, she lost 2 sons to violence, and, we can move forward, and, all the work I've been doing around gun violence. My own brother was murdered in 2014, so I know the impact. I've lost several people to gun violence. I lost a foster brother. I've lost, which happened to be someone that I was really close to, Andre Stoner, and his murder is still unsolved. As many of the murders in our community, including my brother's murder, is still unsolved. And what I do is I spend a lot of my time now working with mothers and families, dealing with the trauma, and giving them resources that they may not know of, and I kind of gear them and push them to where in the path that they need to go to deal with the trauma that they're dealing with, and I try to do as best as I can to help them with their children and make sure that their children get in services. And the city of Boston has done. We've cut a lot of the trauma services out. We had one gentleman out on the streets that he was awesome. And he basically stomped the ground of the whole city, him and maybe one volunteer here and there, Courtney Gray. I don't know if you know.
I remember, we've met Courtney, yes.
Courtney, and they took him out of that position, and now they've allocated it to health centers, whatever, but the trauma services is not getting done in Boston the way it needs to.
Well, explain to me, because the mayor has set up these trauma response teams that partner the city with some of the community agencies. I think there are more neighborhoods that have these now. What's missing?
Chris, all due respect, I respect Mayor Walsh, but this is one decision that I don't agree with and I don't think was effective at all, has been effective. Families still lack services. They deal on people like myself, and even someone like Monica Cannon, who's a friend of mine, who
activist in Roxbury.
She's an activist, and you know, she's constantly battling the same issues around the violence and the trauma services. And, you know, Monica is the type will call me, pick up the phone and call Tito, and I've picked up the phone and I've called Monica and Tito, and we've met at hospitals in the city of Boston to deal with the trauma. Where you don't see no one else from the city or a trauma team or a clinic. I mean, we're talking wee hours of the morning. And this is what people like us in the community do that are activists. We don't get paid for this, Chris. Zara Mendez doesn't get paid for this. I don't get paid for this. People like Monica Cannon, Tito. I mean, Tito is is a city councilor, but you know, but we're there, and it's not to be biased towards the candidates, or either one of the mayor candidates. It's just facts of the matter of what we do. And I call out the people that I work with doing this work.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with a candidate for City Council in District 7, Joao DePina. Joao, another concern in this district is housing, and instead of all those tall buildings for a luxury market downtown, we're starting to see more construction in the outer neighborhoods, Dorchester, Roxbury, even Mattapan. What would you like to see done about the terms for that development in these outer neighborhoods?
Well, Chris, I will tell you this. I had this conversation with my advisor up until 2 o'clock in the morning this morning, because we're working tirelessly on my housing policy. Housing and mental health is one of my two main policies that I'm rolling with. And you know, most people want to pick one platform. I'm picking two. And housing and mental health is the main thing. And I will tell you, as a contractor, on top of owning my own small business, I contract myself out to, and I happen to get around the city, and I've been doing that for the past 3 years. And Chris, the amount of cranes that are up in Boston, everywhere you go, there's a hole being dug and a building going up, and they're going up pretty quick, Chris. The thing is, we talk about the linkage program, and we talk about home ownership, and we talk about, you know, not subsidized housing, but we talk about affordable housing. Chris, affordable housing to us in our community is not affordable housing. When our median income is $25,000, $30,000 to $35,000 in our neighborhood, you know, and we keep talking about poverty, we keep talking about gentrification, and when we talk about gentrification, we're not talking about why the gentrification is happening. You know, we have a candidate that's running against me, and we're talking about these projects, right? These you mentioned
let me
tall
ask
buildings,
you about one
right?
location I'm sure you're looking at right now in the district on Townsend Street between Washington and Walnut, the former Jewish Memorial Hospital.
Yeah,
They're talking about hundreds of units there. I mean, hundreds of units can be a good thing, but what's wrong with this one?
Listen, Chris, I'm all about development. I'm all about creating housing and economic development, creating small businesses, and making our community thrive. But a project like this, such as this one, 322 units, and there's no affordable units.
At least on site.
On site, because they've ousted everything out. There's no affordable units on site. There is no home ownership on site, and it's all rental units. And parking is limited too. So that's a problem for me. I don't agree with that project as the way that they have it structured now. I would mind the project coming in if we change the structure of this project and we don't make it as a face of gentrification. Like I said, I'm not in support of it, but there's a candidate that's running against me who's not sitting here saying publicly she's supporting it, but she wrote letters to the BPDA in support of both the Rio Grande project, which is also in Dudley, 25 stories, 211 units, no parking. That's a problem for me. I understand they're doing 20% affordable units. But again, when we're talking about affordable, we're not talking about people that actually live in our community. We're talking about affordable, the range from $50,000 to $70,000 or $80,000. Those people in that range, and I'm sorry, and we all know this, our community doesn't make that kind of income. We need to work on getting blue-collar jobs back into Roxbury, back into District 7 and the whole of Boston and all the poverty-stricken neighborhoods. We need blue-collar jobs. We need job training. And we need our community to be sustained. We need our schools to get back to par. And by doing this is we need to be able to have stable communities. And as much as we talk about gentrification, Chris, I don't have a problem or qualm, and I understand something about this, and we're doing a lot of research on something on my platform, right? In my policies. Now, one major problem we have is economic injustice in our community. And when we don't have enough blue-collar jobs in our community to sustain these rents, that's our problem. Now, we have 200, we talk about construction projects. Those are all blue-collar jobs. But very few jobs do I drive by do I see many minorities on. Majority of them people are not even from Boston working on those projects. So we need to go back to our standards and hold these companies accountable for keeping up with our Boston's work standards, which means that they need to hire 50% of people from Boston. We need women on the jobs. We need men of color on the jobs. We need residents of Boston that you're building these projects on the jobs.
Well, finally, if people want to get some more details about your stands and the issues and your background, you've got a website or a Facebook page they can check out?
Yeah, you can go for DePinaForBoston.com, and I'm also on Facebook at DePina for Boston. I'm also on Twitter, DePina for Boston, and you also can, campaigns, Chris, run on money, and we need some, funding for that as well. So you can also go on here and hit the donation button, hit the volunteer button, join my campaign. It's going to be a great campaign, and I'm looking to bring Boston a new face of politics. And having someone young and vibrant and someone with a voice that's actually going to stand up against certain things with the establishment. And it's not that I have a problem with the establishment, but I will stand up when it comes to my community and our community, because it's our community. And we need to be able to have a voice for our community, and our community has lacked a strong, powerful voice for a long time, and we can't continue to let developers come and push us out. And we need to be able to have developers come and also give money back into training programs.
Okay. Thank you very much for being with us.
All right, thank you, and I appreciate it.
Candidate for City Council in District 7, Joao DePina. We'll have more news in just a moment.